In this session, we will focus on the content-based requirements of the DBA thesis. We will also touch upon the format-based requirements, but I would like to focus on how to develop an argumentative, really meaningful and academic paper. A good thesis essentially has three important elements. The first one is credible content. Credible content means that you really contribute to the scientific field that you have chosen. It also means that you will base your opinion, your findings, your contributions on the data, on the results, on the literature that has already been published or circulated in that specific field. Credible data also means that you rely on trustworthy resources. For example, community-edited websites like Wikipedia and different knowledge-sharing websites are not really a good resource because the author is difficult to identify, and the trustworthiness normally means that it has been issued, it has been published by an author who has been recognized in that scientific field. A good thesis should also have a proper structure, a well-established, easy-to-follow, argumentative structure that will guide the reader in understanding exactly what you wish to contribute to that scientific field, and it will also help in seeing where you got from and to what result, to what contributions you have arrived during the course of your studies. And thirdly, I would again emphasize that real contribution is needed, meaning copying or taking exactly the steps that somebody else has already done in that scientific field is not really appreciated. What are the threats to a proper academic DBA thesis? Let me again emphasize the importance of adding gist, adding meaning to the DBA thesis. It's important to undertake a research which can be a real contribution to others' work, to the business field that you are involved in, and saying something, contributing to that specific field with something new, with something that has not been undertaken by anybody else in that field yet. Secondly, I must emphasize the threat of plagiarism. Copying the work of other authors without referencing them and without showing exactly what is your contribution and what is the level, what is the sentence, so to say, that you have borrowed from somebody else. We will guide you with identifying possible areas of plagiarism in your work. We have software for this purpose, and we will be able to share you this report, identifying what exactly is the area that seems to be copied from other authors, and you will be required to correct it, and you will be able to identify what is your sentence, what is your area, and what has been taken from somebody else. Thirdly, style can also be an important threat to your work. To follow a formal academic professional style can be achieved by formal language, first of all, by trustworthy resources, and by following a well-structured, well-established style, which is easy to follow by any reader, but at the same time it shows a proper level of professionalism. Structure also means that you start from the traditions of the specific field, you start from what has already been done, published, undertaken, achieved in that specific field, and then based on the literature review, based on your research plan, and then followed by your data collection, data analysis, your own contributions, you arrive to your own conclusions. Let me give you some ideas, some suggestions on what research questions to focus on. You may wish to investigate certain trends. For example, how has the purchasing power of certain products or services have changed? You may focus on distribution. What is the age distribution, gender distribution, geographical distribution of the customer base of a certain product or service? You may also focus on reasons behind a certain social phenomenon, business phenomenon. By focusing on reasons, you will interpret certain phenomena. You will focus on the possible roots, the possible reasons for the appearance of certain phenomena in the business world. And this will mean a really deep and causative analysis of the phenomena that you have chosen. Let me now talk about referencing in a bit more details. As I have said, plagiarism is a real threat. Certainly you will choose an area of research which has been of interest to other people as well, to other business people in the past as well, and you will have to show clearly what exactly is your contribution and what is the field, what is the area, what is the sentence that you have taken from somebody else. What do we reference? To make it simple, I would say everything that you have seen, you have read, you have identified in another source. This will therefore mean images, charts, definitions, any sentences that you are taking literally from somebody else. And I would also say that you will have to mention whether it's your own photo, for example, or image, or whether you have taken it from somebody else. Therefore, whenever you insert a chart, an image into your paper, make sure that you add where you have taken it from, or alternatively, that it has been your own addition. Let me now give you an example of how you may insert a definition into your thesis. As we mentioned in the first part of the session, it's important to define the basic terms and models. How do we define? You may go freestyle. It means that you can simply identify in your own words, for example, what do you mean by marketing strategy? You can simply say what are the important elements, what is the purpose, and what are the resources used in a marketing strategy. That will be your own definition. You don't need to reference any other authors, any other books, because it's your own opinion, your own contribution. Secondly, you may turn to a recognized definition, for example, the American Marketing Association, and you may quote it in your work literally between quotation marks and identifying the association that has published this statement with the year of publishing. Thirdly, you may summarize the definition of recognized resource or the definitions of other recognized resources. And again, although you will use your own words for summary, you are basing your definition on other authors, on other contributors. Therefore, you should, in brackets following your sentence, you should identify where exactly you have taken this from. Let me give you an example. Let's imagine that I aim to give a definition of quality. And I found a definition which I find useful. I'm not in 100% agreement with this definition, but I would like to use this as a basis for my thesis because I find that it's a good first step. The definition identifies 4 elements of quality, out of which I only find 1 or 2 interesting, for example. If I wish, I can literally put this into my work, I can quote it, and after the quotation I will explain what is my opinion, how do I aim to use this, what exactly is my idea of this definition, whether it's relevant, whether it's appropriate today, whether it's outdated perhaps, etc. I put it on quotation marks, and after that I comment on it, I interpret it, I add my own contribution. Secondly, I can simply summarize this quotation. By summarizing, I already highlight what is the element that I'm in agreement with, and what is the element which I find debatable, for example. Following the use of resources, at the end of your assignment, you will have to include a bibliography. A bibliography should follow a standard style. We recommend using the Harvard referencing style, but it's your choice. And you should clearly say who is the author, what is the year of publishing, whether it has been an online source or printed source, and then you should also link the online sources. You should provide the exact link that you have used when quoting this work. Let me now give you an example of how to develop argumentative analytical sentences. We recommend you to always write in full paragraphs. One-sentence paragraphs, bullet point is not very analytical. Normally an analysis means that you link different elements together and you put them into a fully developed, well-established paragraph. Let me give you an example. I aim to analyze the concept of quality. And while thinking about the concept of quality, I read some resources. I find an interesting resource about the mail service, how quality is interpreted in the case of mail service. And I have some other ideas of how quality can be experienced in case. When I aim to argue for the importance of quality, I can actually take the aspect of what happens if quality is poor. By analyzing what poor quality means, I have listed a few points. This is just my note. In a few bullet points, I identified what poor quality can mean for a company, for the customers, for any stakeholders who are involved in this process. Following the listing of these points, I link these together, and I will say poor quality means these and these and these aspects. As a consequence, poor quality will result in lower business performance, lower reputation, etc. And I also quote that I have found a nice, impressive example of the impact of poor quality in relation to the Hungarian mail service, for example. By definition, analysis means that we break the subject into different elements that can mean different aspects, that can mean different stages of a process, for example. We show the links between the different elements, and we highlight the most important elements. We show what is the cause, what is the result, what conclusions we can draw from the use of that strategy, for example. And then we also apply. Application is an essential part of analysis. Showing the elements of, for example, a marketing strategy and then linking them together, how they build on each other. We should also identify how this can be applied in the specific business field. You will see examples of analysis, again, for example, with the concept of quality. I may decide to analyze the concept of quality from different aspects. Legal, customers, the manufacturing-based industries will also give different aspects to interpreting quality. And then I develop my argumentation based on these points. What are the different aspects, how they are linked to each other, what is the most important aspect in terms of the specific field that I have chosen, and then I close it with the application, with showing how quality is interpreted in my field. The difference between analysis and evaluation will be linking current research to my findings. Evaluation practically follows the same steps as analysis, breaking the subject into different elements, showing what are the links, which are the weaker, which are the stronger elements of the specific phenomena, how they are linked to each other, what is the application of this model, term, phenomenon, and what are the different current applications, current research undertaken or used in this field. This is how we evaluate a certain phenomena, and this is how our work becomes professional and economic. You will also see an example of an evaluation on the next slide. Again, choosing the concept of quality, we can develop a nice evaluation of how quality can be interpreted in a specific business field. And now, let me share with you a sample thesis which is built on exactly the same stages that we have developed so far. We start with an introduction, identifying our reasons, our purposes for selecting this specific field. It is followed by a literature review. We then establish our research question and hypothesis. We share how we aim to collect the data, how we aim to analyze it. At the end, we are still able to link other research and other further findings to our work. We close our finding with the conclusions and evaluations. And then we may attach any appendices, any charts, diagrams, and certainly the bibliography to the work. I hope this session has been useful in guiding you in undertaking your DBA thesis, and we hope you will be able to undertake a successful and enjoyable research. Thank you for watching this session. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you will find it useful in your studies.